For decades, Russia built the most extensive underground bunker network in the world. Mount Yamantau, Kosvinsky Mountain, dozens of facilities beneath Moscow itself. All of it was designed around one assumption, that no conventional weapon could ever reach them. On June 22, 2025, that assumption died, and Russia watched every second of it happen to Iran. The GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator is built around a single principle: overwhelming mass, precisely controlled. Of its 30,000-pound weight, 80% is a monoblock penetrator forged from heat-treated 4340 miraging steel. This dense alloy, engineered to survive impact pressures above 30 gigapascals, gives the bomb the sheer momentum to drive through 60 meters of ultra-high-strength concrete, or more than 130 feet of solid rock. Only about 6,000 pounds, 20%, is PBXN-109 explosive, underscoring a design that values kinetic force over raw blast. Casing metallurgy is essential. A dual-layer structure, tungsten-nickel composite cladding over the steel core, shapes the nose to resist deformation and maximize penetration. This approach, adapted from tactical missile booster technology, ensures the bomb remains intact through violent deceleration, holding together until it reaches its programmed depth. Destructive power, though, depends on more than mass. The MF-70 fuse system brings intelligence to the weapon. Accelerometers detect the initial shock of impact, then microwave and ultrasonic sensors track the transition from dense material to air. When the bomb enters a void, an underground chamber or tunnel, the sensors register a sudden drop in resistance. At that instant, programmable delay logic takes over. Operators can set detonation depth from a surface burst to a deep cavity explosion up to 30 feet inside a target. The adaptive algorithm can even delay detonation by up to 2 seconds if irregular geology is detected, ensuring the charge is delivered at the most vulnerable point. This balance of mass, metallurgy, and sensing logic defines the GBU-57's effectiveness, challenging long-held assumptions about underground survivability. White Sands Missile Range became the proving ground for the GBU-57's most ambitious claims. In 2007, engineers orchestrated a full-scale drop from a B-2 at 30,000 feet, targeting a slab 3 feet thick of steel-reinforced concrete backed by synthetic granite. Sensors and high-speed cameras captured the moment of impact. The bomb drove through the concrete, continued deep into the rock, and detonated at a measured depth of 60 feet. Telemetry confirmed the casing endured impact loads above 30 gigapascals, matching the weapon's design targets. A later campaign at Eglin Air Force Base in 2014 took the challenge further. The test array stacked 12 feet of concrete, 8 feet of basalt, and a final cap of reinforced steel. The GBU-57 penetrated a total of 150 feet before its fuse triggered. Post-test core samples and acoustic logs verified the depth, while engineers noted the deceleration profile aligned with predictive models. These results, declassified in the FY 2012 MOP report, established that the weapon could breach the kinds of ultra-high-strength concrete rated at or above 30,000 pounds per square inch, used in modern hardened facilities. Dr. Mark Feldman, a senior Boeing engineer, described the significance. The numbers from the lab match the numbers in the desert. That is the threshold for operational credibility. With every test, the GBU-57's advertised penetration, 60 meters of reinforced concrete, survivability under 30 gigapascals, moved from theory to documented fact. The anticipation grew. If these results held in combat, even the world's most fortified underground sites might be at risk. 7 B-2 Spirit bombers lifted off from Whiteman Air Force Base under strict radio silence, each loaded with 2 GBU-57s. The operation demanded a 7,000-mile round trip, with 3 mid-air refuelings logged by KC-135, KC-10, and KC-46 tankers. This allowed the bombers to maintain a low observable profile and approach Iranian airspace undetected. The strike package crossed into the target zone just before midnight local time, with electronic warfare pods and F-35A escorts suppressing any chance of radar lock or missile engagement. Within a window of less than 25 minutes, the bombers executed a tightly sequenced drop. The lead B-2 released its pair of GBU-57s over the Fordow enrichment complex, targeting the main tunnel entrances and cascade galleries. Each subsequent aircraft followed pre-assigned release points, spacing impacts to maximize cumulative penetration. 12 bombs struck Fordow, focused on the densest concentration of underground chambers, while 2 were allocated to Natanz, aimed at the Western Enrichment Hall, buried beneath reinforced concrete and granite. The timing and spacing of the drops were calibrated to exploit the shock and fracturing from each previous impact, a tactic that deepened the penetration channel and increased the likelihood of structural collapse below ground. Tanker logs confirmed the bombers maintained their operational tempo throughout, with the final refueling over the Arabian Sea marking the transition to the homeward leg. All 7 aircraft returned to Whiteman within 37 hours of departure, completing the longest non-stop B-2 sortie since the Afghanistan campaign. 14 GBU-57s expended, 0 aircraft lost, and a new benchmark set for intercontinental precision strike. Maxar satellites captured the aftermath at Fordow and Natanz within hours of the strike. Change detection analysis revealed surface depressions and collapsed ventilation shafts where reinforced concrete had once concealed Iran's most sensitive nuclear work. At Fordow, a crater nearly 30 meters wide marked the main tunnel entrance. The roof of the Western Enrichment Hall at Natanz had caved in, with debris scattered across a 200 square meter field. These changes were confirmed by independent analysts using pre-strike and post-strike imagery, with geolocation overlays matching the known coordinates of the buried facilities. Seismic logs from the IRIS network recorded 2 distinct magnitude 3.2 events, timed within seconds of the reported impact window. Infrasound stations as far as Turkey and Saudi Arabia detected pressure spikes consistent with high-yield underground detonations. The blast signatures lined up precisely with the bomb release times logged in the U.S. Air Force after action reports. Thermal imaging showed only brief heat plumes, indicating that the explosions originated deep below the surface, not from surface-level munitions. Within 24 hours, Iran's Atomic Energy Organization issued a statement acknowledging large-scale munitions and an airburst over a strategic facility. While the official language avoided direct admission, the Inspector General's internal summary, later cited by international monitors, described severe structural compromise and ordered the dispersal of remaining enrichment assets to secondary sites. This response stood in sharp contrast to the aftermath of Israel's Operation Rising Lion, which had failed to breach the same bunkers just weeks earlier. The evidence left little doubt. The GBU-57 had reached depths and caused damage that previous generations of weapons could not. For military planners worldwide, the implications were immediate. If a site engineered to withstand the best bunker busters could be neutralized by a single coordinated strike, the presumed invulnerability of deep underground facilities was shattered. Mount Yamantau rises from the southern Urals, its summit concealing a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers buried more than 3,000 feet beneath quartz-rich granite. Kosvinsky Mountain, the alternate command post, sits shielded by roughly 1,000 feet of solid rock. Beneath Moscow, investigative reports from Russian journalists describe dozens of multi-level bunkers descending over 200 meters, all interconnected by a classified subway network. These sites were engineered during the Cold War to survive the unthinkable, a near miss from a multi-megaton nuclear detonation. In 2016, satellite imagery and procurement records revealed a surge in new construction, timed with the United States advancements in deep penetration weapons and public warnings from American officials. CIA assessments from the 1990s and Russian security sources continue to cite Yamantau and Kosvinsky as the backbone of the nation's nuclear command and control. Yet the events in Iran have forced a new question. If the world's most advanced conventional bomb can erase a vault once thought untouchable, how secure are even the deepest Russian sanctuaries now? Russia's arsenal offers no weapon that rivals GBU-57's reach or precision. The KAB-1500L PR, Moscow's heaviest bunker buster, weighs 3,300 pounds and can only pierce about 2 meters of reinforced concrete, barely a 30th of what the American bomb achieves. Delivery is another weakness. The Tu-160M, Russia's largest strategic bomber, lacks stealth and would be tracked by modern air defenses before it ever reached a high-value target. In April 2023, a Bet-A-B series bomb intended for a military site in Kharkiv instead struck a residential block in Belgorod, exposing the risks of unguided munitions and outdated delivery systems. The cost of each GBU-57 stands at $1.3 million, a figure that seems steep until weighed against the strategic leverage it delivers. Senator Lindsey Graham put the policy message bluntly. If he's wondering what happens on day 51, I would suggest he call the Ayatollah. The capability gap is not just technical, it is doctrinal, and it leaves Russia's deepest command bunkers exposed to a conventional threat they were never built to withstand. This vulnerability reshapes how hardened sites are valued and defended. Today, A 30,000-pound weapon, guided by a void-sensing fuse and delivered by stealth, renders even the deepest fortresses vulnerable. For Russia, the doctrine of absolute sanctuary is broken. As Senator Graham warned, if he's wondering what happens on day 51, I would suggest he call the Ayatollah.